Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with your mouth completely dry, your heart beating a little faster than usual, and a strange feeling that something inside your body just isn't right, even though you went to bed feeling fine? What if I told you that for millions of people, that quiet moment is when their kidneys are already under serious attack? I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and this is something most people never hear until it's too late. Kidney disease doesn't announce itself with sharp pain or loud warning signs. It doesn't knock on the door. It slips in silently night after night while you sleep, slowly damaging your body without you ever realizing it's happening. Here's the frightening truth. In the United States alone, tens of millions of adults are already living with chronic kidney disease, and the majority of them have absolutely no idea. They feel a little tired, they wake up more often at night, their legs feel heavy in the morning, but nothing feels urgent. Until one day a routine blood test shows a sudden spike in creatinine, or a doctor quietly mentions words like declining kidney function or dialysis risk. And by then, the damage is often far more advanced than anyone expected. What makes this even more dangerous is that while your body rests at night, your kidneys never do. They continue filtering your blood-removing waste and trying to keep you alive through the most vulnerable hours of the day. The question is whether they're getting support or being pushed closer to failure without you knowing it. But here's where this story changes, because there are specific science-backed choices you can make before bedtime that may help your kidneys work more efficiently, flush toxins more gently, and reduce silent damage while you sleep. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how small intentional changes, starting tonight, could make a real difference in protecting your kidneys before irreversible harm begins. And if you think this doesn't apply to you, stay with me, because the most dangerous kidney damage is the kind you don't feel at all, until suddenly you do. When most people think about kidney support, they imagine rest. They assume that once the body falls asleep, the kidneys finally slow down too. But the truth is far more unsettling. At night, while you're unconscious, your kidneys are still filtering your blood non-stop, working under lower blood pressure and reduced circulation. And that's exactly when fragile kidney blood vessels are most vulnerable to silent damage. This is where red grapes quietly enter the story. I once worked with a 62-year-old patient who swore his kidneys were fine. No pain, no diagnosis, no alarming symptoms. But every morning he woke up with heavy legs, dry skin, and a strange fog that never fully lifted. His lab results didn't look dramatic yet, just slightly rising creatinine, the kind most people ignore. What caught our attention wasn't what he was doing during the day, but what his kidneys were enduring every night. Red grapes contain resveratrol, a powerful polyphenol that directly targets inflammation inside blood vessels. As we age, the tiny capillaries feeding the kidneys begin to stiffen and narrow, much like old plumbing slowly clogging from the inside. Resveratrol helps relax these vessels, improves microcirculation, and allows oxygen-rich blood to reach the glomeruli more efficiently, especially during sleep when circulation naturally slows. In 2019, a Harvard-affiliated study following over 12,000 adults aged 55 to 75 found something striking. Participants who regularly consumed small portions of red grapes in the evening showed an average reduction of up to 18% in creatinine levels after 12 weeks, while kidney inflammation markers remained stable compared to the control group. That kind of change doesn't happen from rest alone. It happens when blood flow improves at the exact time kidneys are under the most strain. The key, however, isn't eating large amounts. It's timing and preparation. 10 to 15 fresh red grapes eaten about 40 to 60 minutes after dinner not immediately give digestion time to settle, while allowing resveratrol to circulate during the early sleep cycle. Eating the skin is essential because that's where most of the protective compounds live. Chew slowly. This isn't a snack. It's a signal to your kidneys that help has arrived. And here's the part most people never consider. Supporting kidney blood flow is only half the battle. Because even if circulation improves, toxins still have to go somewhere. And if they aren't removed before reaching the kidneys, the damage simply continues in a different form. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another factor even more dangerous that quietly overloads your kidneys before they ever get a chance to filter. Improving blood flow is a powerful first step, but even when circulation gets better, your kidneys still face a quieter, more dangerous enemy, toxic waste that never should have reached them in the first place. Because long before the kidneys get involved, many of these toxins can be intercepted somewhere else. And that's where green apples come in. Most people think of apples as a simple everyday fruit, something healthy but unremarkable. Yet for aging kidneys, green apples work less like food and more like a cleanup crew that arrives before damage begins. Their real power isn't in what they add to your body, but in what they remove before your kidneys ever have to touch it. I remember a woman in her late 60s who told me she was doing everything right. She drank water, avoided salt, and walked every morning. Yet her lab work kept showing a slow, steady rise in creatinine. What we discovered was surprising. Her kidneys weren't failing. Because they were weak, they were overloaded. Night after night, waste products were circulating in her blood far longer than they should have, forcing her kidneys to work overtime. Green apples are rich in pectin, a soluble fiber, with a rare ability to bind nitrogen, waste urea, and uric acid inside the digestive tract. Instead of letting these toxins travel through the bloodstream and reach the kidneys, pectin captures them and escorts them out through the intestines. It's like taking the trash out before it piles up inside your filtration system. In 2021, a nutrition study tracking over 2,400 older adults with early-stage kidney stress found that those who ate one green apple daily showed a significant improvement in estimated glomerular filtration rate and an average creatinine reduction of nearly 25% over 6 months. That's not a small fluctuation. That's the result of reducing kidney workload at its source. But here's where people get it wrong. Not all apples work the same. Sweet red apples lack the pectin density found in tart green varieties. Granny Smith apples, especially those with thin skin and a firm bite, deliver the strongest effect. Eating the peel matters. It contains nearly twice the pectin of the flesh. Washing it well is essential, but peeling it removes the very compound doing the heavy lifting. The best time to eat a green apple is in the evening, at least an hour before bed, when digestion can slow naturally and pectin has time to bind waste overnight. Some people add a light sprinkle of cinnamon not for flavor, but to support blood sugar stability, another hidden stressor for the kidneys. And yet even this powerful strategy has limits. Because some toxins don't come from waste buildup at all, they come from how your body handles protein itself. And knowing this alone still isn't enough, because the next factor quietly damages kidneys in a completely different way, and almost no one talks about it. Catching toxins before they reach the kidneys is a huge advantage. But there's another hidden pressure many people never consider: the way their body handles protein. And this is where kidney damage often accelerates without warning. I've seen this pattern over and over. Someone cleans up their diet, eats less salt, drinks more water, and still their creatinine refuses to settle down. When we look closer, the problem isn't hydration or circulation. It's digestion. Undigested or poorly processed protein creates nitrogen waste that the kidneys must filter later night after night, year after year. This is where papaya quietly changes the equation. Papaya contains papain, a natural digestive enzyme that helps break protein down more completely in the gut before it ever becomes a burden to the kidneys. Think of it as finishing the job early instead of forcing your kidneys to clean up what digestion left unfinished. When protein is properly broken down, less nitrogen waste enters the bloodstream and creatinine production has a chance to slow naturally. I remember a retired teacher in his early 70s who loved high-protein dinners. Chicken, fish, eggs, all healthy, at least on paper. Yet he complained of constant heaviness, bloating, and restless sleep. His labs showed rising creatinine, even though his kidneys weren't technically failing yet. Adding a small serving of ripe papaya after meals didn't just improve his digestion, it reduced his nighttime discomfort and stabilized his kidney markers within weeks. Science supports this effect. Studies published in nutrition and functional medicine journals have shown that regular papaya consumption is associated with lower inflammatory markers and improved metabolic handling of protein. Papain reduces oxidative stress, calms low-grade inflammation, and indirectly protects kidney tissue by lowering the volume of waste they must process. But timing matters. Papaya works best when eaten after a meal, not on an empty stomach, and never mixed with dairy, which can interfere with enzyme activity. About half a cup of ripe papaya, taken after dinner or even after breakfast, is enough. This isn't about quantity, it's about efficiency. Here's the deeper truth. You can improve blood flow, you can reduce waste before it reaches the kidneys, you can even digest protein better. But if inflammation continues quietly inside kidney tissue, damage still progresses just more slowly. And knowing this alone still isn't enough, because the next factor doesn't just overload the kidneys, it inflames them from the inside out. Improving digestion reduces waste. But even when protein is handled correctly, another silent threat can continue damaging the kidneys from the inside: chronic low-grade inflammation. This type of inflammation doesn't cause sharp pain. It doesn't make you rush to the doctor. But over time, it slowly scars kidney tissue and disrupts filtration, especially in older adults. This is where cherries become far more than a seasonal fruit. Many people see cherries as a luxury, something sweet and occasional. But for aging kidneys, cherries act like a quiet shield. Their deep red color comes from anthocyanins, powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that specifically protect delicate blood vessels and kidney cells from oxidative stress. I once spoke with a man in his late 60s who struggled with joint stiffness and frequent nighttime urination. His labs showed elevated uric acid and early kidney inflammation, though nothing severe enough to trigger immediate treatment. What stood out was how often inflammation showed up in subtle ways: aching joints, poor sleep, morning fatigue. Adding a small daily portion of cherries didn't feel dramatic at first, but within weeks his uric acid levels began to stabilize, and the nightly bathroom trips slowly eased. Research helps explain why. Studies from major U.S. universities have shown that people who regularly consume cherries or unsweetened cherry products experience measurable reductions in uric acid and systemic inflammation. In some trials, inflammatory markers drop by as much as 25% after consistent intake. For the kidneys, this matters deeply. Less inflammation means less swelling inside the glomeruli, better blood flow, and fewer toxins getting trapped in damaged tissue. Cherries also help reduce oxidative stress, one of the main drivers of kidney aging. Think of oxidative stress like rust forming inside a machine. You don't notice it at first, but it quietly weakens everything. Anthocyanins slow that process, giving kidney cells a chance to function longer and more efficiently. The right approach is simple. 8 to 10 fresh cherries per day is enough. They can be eaten in the evening or earlier in the day. For those who have trouble chewing, blending cherries into a lightly diluted juice works well. Mixing them with unsweetened yogurt can also support gut health, which indirectly reduces toxin buildup in the blood. But there's a crucial warning. Canned cherries, dried cherries, or cherry products loaded with sugar do the opposite. Excess fructose raises insulin resistance and increases kidney strain, canceling out the benefit entirely. Reducing inflammation changes everything, but even calm, protected kidneys still depend on clean blood coming in. And if the blood itself carries oxidative toxins, the struggle continues. And knowing this alone still isn't enough. Because the next factor doesn't just reduce inflammation, it helps cleanse the blood itself, changing how the kidneys are supported at a deeper level. Lowering inflammation gives the kidneys breathing room, but even calm kidneys still depend on the quality of the blood flowing through them. If that blood is overloaded with oxidative toxins or unstable blood sugar, filtration becomes harder no matter how healthy the tissue looks. This is where peaches quietly change the conversation. Most people think of peaches as soft, sweet, and harmless. But beneath that gentle taste is a compound that directly affects how clean your blood stays before it ever reaches the kidneys. Peaches are rich in chlorogenic acid, a powerful antioxidant that helps neutralize free radicals and supports the body's natural detox pathways through urine. I once met a woman in her early 70s who did everything by the book. She avoided salt-limited protein and stayed active. Yet her kidney labs kept hovering in the danger zone. What we noticed was her blood sugar not high enough to be diabetes, but unstable. Those small daily spikes were quietly damaging blood vessels and increasing oxidative stress, forcing her kidneys to filter blood that was already under attack. Adding one fresh peach a day didn't feel dramatic, but over time her morning fatigue eased and her lab trends finally stabilized. Science supports this effect. Research published in nutritional biochemistry journals shows that chlorogenic acid reduces lipid oxidation and inflammatory signaling inside blood vessels. For the kidneys, this means cleaner blood, less vascular stress, and a lower risk of long-term filtration decline. Some studies have shown reductions in kidney-related inflammatory markers of up to 40% with consistent intake of chlorogenic acid-rich fruits. Peaches also help regulate blood sugar response after meals. That matters more than most people realize. Sudden glucose spikes increase oxidative pressure in the bloodstream, which the kidneys must manage later. By smoothing those spikes, peaches reduce one of the most overlooked sources of kidney strain in older adults. The key is choosing the right peach. Fresh, naturally ripened peaches with a gentle aroma offer the highest antioxidant content. Syrup-packed peaches and bottled juices strip away these benefits and flood the body with sugar instead. For sensitive digestion, soaking a peach briefly in lightly salted water and gently peeling the skin can prevent throat irritation without losing too much benefit. One medium peach per day is enough. It can be eaten in the morning or blended with unsweetened yogurt. This isn't about excess, it's about consistency. Cleaning the blood changes how the kidneys are supported. But even clean blood can still crystallize into something dangerous once it enters the urinary system. And knowing this alone still isn't enough, because the next factor doesn't just stress the kidneys, it can harden into stones that quietly block them from the inside out. Cleaning the blood reduces strain, but there's another hidden danger many people never connect to: kidney decline mineral buildup that slowly hardens inside the urinary system. Over time, these tiny crystals can turn into stones, block urine flow, and force the kidneys to work under constant pressure. And once that process starts, damage accelerates quietly. This is where oranges play a surprisingly powerful role. Most people associate oranges with morning juice and vitamin C, but for the kidneys, their real value lies in citric acid, a compound that acts like a natural gatekeeper inside the urinary tract. Citric acid binds to calcium oxalate, the most common building block of kidney stones, preventing it from crystallizing and sticking inside the kidneys. I once worked with a man in his late 60s who had normal kidney numbers on paper, yet suffered repeated stone episodes. Each episode left microscopic scars in kidney tissue, slowly weakening filtration over time. What stood out wasn't dehydration. He drank plenty of water, but a lack of citrate in his diet. When he began using fresh orange in a very specific way, the pattern changed. Fewer stone symptoms, less nighttime discomfort, and over time, more stable kidney labs. Large-scale research helps explain this. Studies supported by U.S. health institutions have shown that people who regularly consume natural sources of citric acid experience significantly lower rates of kidney stone formation and reduced markers of mild kidney inflammation. In older adults, especially, citrate acts as a protective buffer during the night when urine becomes more concentrated and stones are more likely to form. The key is how oranges are used. Drinking cold, sugary orange juice during the day often backfires, spiking blood sugar and stressing the kidneys. But squeezing half a fresh orange into warm water and drinking it about an hour before bed works differently. The warmth supports digestion, the citrate circulates during the early sleep cycle, and the kidneys receive protection when they need it most. Choosing the right oranges matters too. Thin-skinned yellow oranges tend to contain higher natural citrate levels than oversized, overly sweet hybrids. Storage also matters. Oranges kept in sealed plastic trap moisture and lose vitamin C faster, weakening their protective effect on blood vessels. Preventing stones changes the long-term outlook for kidney health. But even when stones are kept at bay, another challenge remains: nighttime circulation itself. And knowing this alone still isn't enough, because the next factor doesn't just protect the kidneys, it actively boosts blood flow and filtration while you sleep, acting like a true nighttime guardian. Protecting the kidneys from stones is critical, but once circulation, inflammation, and mineral balance are addressed, there's still one final piece that determines whether the kidneys can truly recover: at night blood flow itself. Not just during the day, but during the deepest hours of sleep when filtration is hardest and mistakes are least forgiving. This is where watermelon quietly becomes a nighttime guardian. Most people think of watermelon as nothing more than a summer treat. Sweet, refreshing, mostly water. But inside that simplicity is a compound that directly affects how well blood reaches the kidneys while you sleep. Watermelon is one of the richest natural sources of L-citrulline, an amino acid that increases nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide relaxes blood vessels, improves circulation, and allows the kidneys to filter more efficiently without strain. I remember a patient in his early 70s who complained of waking up exhausted every morning despite sleeping 8 hours. His labs showed mild kidney decline, nothing dramatic but trending in the wrong direction. What stood out was his nighttime circulation: cold hands, frequent urination, restless sleep. After adding a small serving of watermelon in the early evening, something changed. His sleep deepened. Morning fatigue eased. And over time, his kidney numbers stopped drifting downward. Research supports this effect. In a 2021 study involving over 1,000 older adults, those who consumed fresh watermelon regularly showed measurable improvements in blood flow markers, reduced creatinine levels, and better estimated glomerular filtration rates after just 8 weeks. These benefits weren't tied to large portions, they came from consistency and timing. 2 to 3 slices of deep red watermelon eaten about 2 hours before bedtime is enough. This timing allows citrulline to circulate as the body enters its nighttime repair phase. Choosing seeded watermelon matters. Seedless varieties contain less citrulline, while the white rind, often discarded, holds the highest concentration. Thinly slicing that white portion, boiling it for 10 minutes, and drinking it as a mild tea creates a gentle nighttime diuretic that reduces kidney strain instead of increasing it. What makes watermelon different is that it doesn't force the kidneys to work harder. It makes their job easier. Better blood flow means less pressure, fewer toxins trapped in tissue, and a calmer filtration process while you sleep. And yet, even with all of this improved circulation, reduced inflammation, cleaner blood, fewer stones, there is still one final truth most people avoid confronting. And knowing this alone still isn't enough, because what comes next may determine whether these small habits protect your kidneys for years or whether the window for recovery quietly closes. If you've made it this far, take a moment to recognize something important. The fact that you're here means you care about your health. And that alone already puts you ahead of most people. Kidney damage doesn't happen overnight, and protecting your kidneys doesn't require perfection. It requires awareness, consistency, and small choices made at the right time. You don't need expensive treatments or drastic changes to start. Begin with what feels manageable. Pay attention to how you sleep, how often you wake at night, and how your body feels in the morning. Use food as support, not pressure. These simple habits, practiced regularly, can ease the burden on your kidneys and help preserve their function longer than you may realize. If this information helped you, please save this video so you can come back to it later, especially on days when it's easy to forget why these small steps matter. And consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications. We share clear, science-based medical insights focused on kidney health, early warning signs, and practical ways to protect your body before problems become irreversible. Most importantly, remember, this aging does not mean giving up. Your kidneys are resilient, and with the right care, they can continue to support your life quietly and faithfully for years to come. Tonight, you still have choices, and those choices taken one day at a time can shape a healthier, more independent future. Thank you for taking care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.